This is Financially Fit Radio with Corey Sickles from Safe Harbor Retirement Group. When a part of your financial strategy is out of tune, your long-term goals, your retirement savings, and your legacy can all suffer. With many years of experience in the financial industry, Corey provides his clients and prospects with the information they need regarding Social Security, retirement income planning, wealth management, and much more. Listen in as we address your financial concerns and provide helpful solutions to put you on the path to achieving your retirement goals. And now, here is Financially Fit Radio with Corey Sickles.
Welcome to another episode of Financially Fit Radio. I'm Corey Sickles, representing the team here at Safe Harbor Retirement Group and Wealth Advisors. If you'd like more information about the insights on today's show, don't hesitate to reach out to us. You can give us a call at 614-760-0670 or visit us online at safeharboroh.com. And while you're exploring our website, be sure to navigate to the radio page. There you can catch up on previous shows and even subscribe to our program through popular podcast platforms like Apple Podcast, Amazon Music, Google Podcast, or Spotify. For engaging visual content on various financial subjects, feel free to drop by our YouTube page as well. Just search for Safe Harbor Retirement Group, and you can also watch Financially Fit Radio from there as well. We're here to address any inquiries you might have or to arrange either an in-person or virtual meeting. And remember, all of our meetings are complimentary and carry no obligation. Your financial well-being is our priority, so let us know how we can assist you the best. Well, today we're going to talk about financial milestones for retirement. I think it's a great topic to talk about, especially as we're heading in here to the new year. But before we dive into that topic today, let me introduce to you my co-host this week and every week, and that's Tony Shore. Tony, how are you today?
I am doing great, Corey. I've had a good week. Obviously very busy. My wife and I still haven't finished our Christmas shopping yet, which isn't good this time of year. That we should have had that done. Every year we say we're going to do it ahead of time, and every year it seems like we're doing some last-minute scrambling. But this year it's just because we've both been so busy with our own jobs, and I've been busy helping my parents as well. They need a lot of help these days. They're in their 80s now, and I've been trying to help them out because of their physical ailments. They need help with bills and taxes and things. So you know how that gets. You help a lot of people with their finances.
Oh, sure.
I don't know how you do it with all your clients, because just trying to get my parents through these steps is a tough thing. But I love spending time with them, so that's the great aspect of that. Corey, how have you been?
I've been good. Talk about, the holidays and Christmas. We have a annual carol sing every year.
Oh, that's right.
So we're going to have about 42 people come into our Melissa and I's house here this weekend. So, or the upcoming weekend. So, yeah. So that'll be fun. It's always fun, especially get our voices ready to do some Christmas carols.
So now, do you just get together and you all sing there, or do you go out and sing, or?
No, we sing all there.
That's nice.
Yeah, my grandmother originally was a music teacher.
Oh, okay.
And we started this tradition back in 1976 or 1977, somewhere right around
goodness.
there.
Yeah.
So now it turns out, obviously my grandmother's passed away, but we've kind of carried on the tradition here.
Oh.
She's been... it's been about 30 years since she passed. So, so we've been, we carry on the tradition. It's a good time for us to get together family-wise. And, it's a good time of the season to be able to do it as well. We're looking forward to that. And right after that, we're talking about, 2024 rolling around here. And I think today's show is going to be good because we're going to talk about, some just financial milestones in general that you should really think about when we start talking about retirement.
Well, sure. And obviously, leading up to retirement, there's a lot of planning that needs to be done. Where do you want to start today with this topic, Corey?
Well, when we start talking about a retirement, of course, the first thing you really want to be, focused on more than anything else is not being able to run out of money, right?
Right.
And I think really the first one we should talk about is savings, right? Saving for retirement. That's a huge milestone to make sure that you're actually saving enough money, as well as probably the right way as well. But, the Employee Benefit Research Institute recommends that you should save at least 15% of your annual income for retirement.
Wow.
So, whether you want to put that money into your 401k or 403b or, a combination of that with a Roth or maybe life insurance or just a regular brokerage account, at the end of the day, 15% of whatever you're earning should be going into some type of long-term or retirement savings. And I would almost bet most of our listeners out there, I'm not going to say all, but most of our listeners are probably not meeting that threshold. And it's something that I don't think enough people really realize on how much you should save to make sure that you're going to have that successful retirement when that day does come.
Yeah. Yeah, I think a lot of people, that's a big milestone, is how much do I need, figuring that out. That's a huge step or milestone on the path to a successful or comfortable retirement. And figuring that out on your own is going to be tough. That's where you come in, Corey, working with a financial services professional like yourself. That's huge. But, that figure you threw out there, 15% of your income, I remember, of course, as I get older, I'm just like, wow, it used to be 6%. They used to say 5 or 6%, and then it was 10. Now it's 15, and that's just because of the cost of things like inflation or long-term care, right?
I mean, that's a big part of it, right?
Yeah.
Things keep going up. You got to save more. You know, in a lot of cases, Tony, this is probably not a good thing. But, in some instances, people haven't seen probably the big increases in their salary, or their earnings as well, right? Sure. But inflation still keeps going up and things cost more. So you have to save more. It's kind of sad if you haven't seen the increases in your salaries, go up as well. But they are recommending about 15%. And another one we start talking about savings too. Fidelity suggests aiming to save at least 10 times your final salary for a comfortable retirement as well. So basically, if you make $100,000, they're saying you need to have at least $1 million in the bank in order to retire, or whatever that is. So that's when you're starting to, you're trying to achieve a specific savings target for retirement, and that might be another beneficial way to be able to do that. So, sure. But at the end of the day, it all comes down to saving. And one of the things you really have to make sure that you're taking advantage of, and this is another one, and that is, if you're working and your company is matching in your 401k or 403b, you have to put money in there. According to Vanguard, individuals who maximize employer matches can potentially accumulate significantly more wealth over their working years.
Oh, yeah. It's free money that you'd be turning down. And so I just kicked myself, but because before I started doing this show with you, Corey, and talking to financial advisors, I didn't always, in my younger days when I had first full-time jobs, I did not take advantage of the 401ks. And then when I learned, okay, I got to take advantage of 401ks, I'd say, I'll put this much in to get some of the match. But you want to make sure you're contributing at the very least enough to get the full match, right? Otherwise, you're leaving money on the table.
That's correct. If they're going to match up to 3%, then you at least got to put in 3%.
Right.
If they're going to match, if they're going to match, 50% up to 6%, then at least put 6% in.
Right.
Right. That's kind of like saying, that's kind of like, the way I look at it, Tony, is this. If you're not doing your match, if you're not contributing to your 401k and get 100% of the match, you're really working for less.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it's a benefit that you're saying, no, thanks, I don't want that. Or it's an extra $1,000 a month or $100 a month, whatever it is.
Right.
You're like, no, thanks. No, thanks.
That's exactly right.
I'll take 100 less a month. Yeah. And that's absolutely crazy. Right.
It is crazy. When you look at it that way, it is crazy. So you just want to make sure that you understand what your company offers, make sure you're maximizing that, because that's free money on the table. And, that extra 3%, for example, over 5, 10, 15, 20 years, that adds up.
Yeah, and with the compounding interest on top of it.
Exactly right.
That's huge. And so in some cases, like you say, some employers match up to 6%. Maybe it's 50% up to 6%. But that means you need to contribute at least 6%. And I would say nowadays, if you're not contributing at least 6% to your 401k, you're doing yourself a disservice anyway, right? I mean,
exactly right.
Like you said, 15 is ideal. Some people may not think they can swing that. But no matter where you're at, or, even people who think, well, I live paycheck to paycheck, I can't save. You can. I mean, it's just, you can learn to live on less. We all should make sacrifices and save for retirement, right?
Exactly right. Yeah, I mean, you really have to be able to do that. The key to having a successful retirement is have savings. The pensions are no longer there. At least for my generation. I mean, for baby boomers and things like that, they still might be there, which means it's going to be it's going to be the way that you save and potentially what you can get from Social Security. Right. And we know what kind of, we keep hearing all kinds of issues about that in the future. So that, we know there's going to be some changes there. And they're probably not going to be good for where we sit today. Right.
Right.
So, and a lot of times when I start working with individuals that are in their 30s or 40s, sometimes they'll tell me, hey, I don't even want you to calculate Social Security into my retirement plan because I don't know what's going to be there. Right. So when you start doing that, it's all based upon what you save. Yeah. So, so take the time, make sure you understand what your company does offer. And here's where I think the most important part of this is, we're here to help, right? You might be having troubles in order to save, but if you work with an advisor, we can sit there and guide you on how to be able to potentially do that. Yeah. Come in, see us. We can sit down and really kind of show you the way to save, and more importantly, how to save. It's just not being able to put money into your 401k as well. You don't want to put everything into something that's going to be taxed later on in life either, Tony. So that's
true,
right? So you want to make sure that maybe you're saving into a Roth. Maybe your company offers a Roth 401k or a Roth 403b, or maybe you just want to be able to build a brokerage account. And really, what I'm talking about there is money that you invest that's already been taxed, so your tax liability is going to be less in the future as well. Well, Tony, we've been talking about financial milestones.
Yeah,
and the next one I kind of want to talk about could be a big one, and that is being able to create a debt-free retirement.
That is huge. Yeah, that sounds good to me. Debt-free are two words we like to hear, and some people say, "Wow, that's that." I don't know if that's an achievable goal for me, but if you're working with a financial professional, it can be, right?
Yeah, I mean, what does debt cause a couple in retirement? What do you think? That it causes them stress?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Debt equals stress. That's for sure.
And when you have stress, that's going to cut probably days or years off of your life. Let's face it. Right.
Or days or years off your marriage. So you want to alleviate financial stress, and one big way to do that is to pay down that debt.
It is, and if you can go into retirement with no debt, you're going to be in such a good situation.
Yeah.
Or worst case scenario, maybe the only debt you have might be the house. But in an ideal situation, to get rid of that house, because that's your largest expense on a monthly basis heading into retirement. Yeah. Your second is going to be health care. We'll talk about that in a minute. And that's not going away, right? That'll never go away. So if you can get rid of that, and maybe you definitely don't want to be going in with credit card debt or anything like that. No. All that does is cause more stress, cause more monthly income that you're going to need in order to survive. And a good way to be able to do that is just to make sure that you're spending within your means. We had a show a couple weeks ago talking about holidays. Don't let the holidays ruin starting out 2024, right?
Right.
You don't want to be going in where you can't pay your credit cards off. Only spend what you can have. And that kind of leads into our kind of next discussion, which goes with this, and that's in a budget. I know everyone hates that, but you kind of need to know where your money's going, and you have to know what you're going to need to have in retirement, Tony, in order to make sure that you can cover that monthly expense on a ongoing basis as well.
Yeah. Yeah, you have to. People don't like the budget word, but you have to have a spending plan. You have to have a budget. And if you look at your budget each month and figure out, okay, here's what it really costs us to live, here's what we can cut out, you're going to be so much better off. And just knowing where you're at relieves a lot of the financial stress people are under. And then you can come up with a plan, but you have to be disciplined to stay on top of it and look at that budget each month and have a plan.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
And I understand if, maybe you're saving your 15%, you're still, you're still saving, you're working today, and maybe you don't really have a budget. That's kind of fine, but you still should look at it every so often just to see where all your money's going, because am I still spending wisely? Right.
Right.
That means you could actually save more potentially, which means you could retire earlier. So, so I think it's always good to be able to review the budget, but it's something that you definitely have to be able to do when you're going into retirement, because it is vital to know on what you need per month in order to pay all your expenses, because they don't go away, and that's going to just. I mean, how do you know if you're not going to run out of money if you don't even know how much money you're going to need to spend per month or per year?
Right. Yeah, exactly. It's kind of hard to know. So you have to have a handle on it. And there's two ways of doing that. You look at it, you go over your budget, you come up with a budget. There's plenty of free software and apps for your phone if you want, and make sure you're doing it together with your spouse, or if you're a couple, you've got to sit down together and do it. Communication is going to be helpful. That is going to help you down the road, and it's going to help you right now alleviate that stress. But you have to know where you're at. And another aspect of that is work with a financial professional. You don't have to go it alone, and you don't have to feel bad. Corey, you've seen it all. Yeah, I mean, people have come to you on all stages of the spectrum with all different types of debt, and you're just there to look at it from an outside, unemotional place where you can look at it and say, okay, let's get started. Let's do this and this and this. And so I think that's the key to having a plan, is first coming up with a budget, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
That's where you start, right? And the budget's key. And so let's kind of talk about some of the costs within that budget, right? I already talked about the home. That's, if you can get rid of that, that's your highest potentially monthly expense that you're going to have.
Yep.
And what's the second one? The second one is healthcare, right?
Yep.
According to Fidelity, they estimated that a 65-year-old couple retiring in 2021 is going to need approximately $300,000 for healthcare costs.
That's crazy.
$300,000.
That is crazy.
Right? So there's two things. Well, I mean, that you got to pay for your Medicare Part B, you know, which is right now it's $175. It just $175 per month, and it's a little bit over a 5% increase. So you can expect that to kind of keep going up as well. And then if you have supplements on top of that, you might be paying anywhere, plus your prescription plan. Whether you go on an Advantage plan or a supplemental plan, the Medigap or whatever, you could end up paying around between $300 to $350 a month, per individual for your healthcare costs.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then, of course, you have your prescription cost. Hopefully you're healthy and you don't have a lot of prescriptions. And that's on an ongoing basis. And then, then we have that silent killer, and we don't know when this day might come. And that is if any of you, or if you or your spouse would go into a long-term care facility.
Yeah.
That is what really can derail your financial security in retirement. Now you have potentially, where you could run out of money if you don't plan right to be able to handle long-term care costs.
Yeah. Yeah, there you go. And long-term care, they say that if you're over 65, 2 out of every 3 people will probably need long-term care if you live past age 65, which is, those stats are crazy and they're increasing all the time. But healthcare is a huge expense. And I mean, like you say, even though people say, I'm not worried about healthcare costs, I'll have Medicare. There are still premiums. There are still deductibles. If you want full coverage and for things like hearing aids and vision and dental, you still need a supplemental or an advantage plan on top of the Medicare, and then long-term care costs, which aren't covered by Medicare. So it is huge, and people need to be prepared for that.
Yeah, and I think it's just wise to have a discussion with an advisor.
Yeah.
To find out what your options are. You find out that you might not be able to afford some type of long-term care policy or something to be able to help supplement that. But there's different ways to be able to do that. But you're not going to know if you don't go in and maybe meet with an advisor like us, where we can sit down and kind of review your situation. Everyone's situation's unique, and be able to prevent or eventually maybe provide you something or a recommendation that might be able to help you meet these long-term health, care costs later on in retirement.
Yeah, and there are a lot of different ways now that you can help cover long-term care costs, at least some of them. I know there are a lot of long-term care riders you can get on insurance policies or as part of annuities. And so I know there are a lot of different ways and tools and vehicles that can be used now. Different types of savings, different types of insurance for long-term care. So it really can get in the weeds, but you need to figure out what's going to work for you personally or you and your family. And the only way to do that is to work with a fiduciary, somebody who's going to be looking out for your best interests, who's looking at the big picture, a financial services professional like yourself, Corey.
Yeah, I mean, that's really what we're here to do. And I think as we end today's show, I think it's always good just to get that financial checkup, right?
Yeah.
That's really what we're really talking about. And you need to do that on an ongoing basis as well. Things change. You might get a higher paying job. You might lose a job. You might become disabled, or maybe you lose a spouse, or maybe you're single when you get married. There's all kind of life events that take place. And you just need to be able to make sure that you're meeting with an advisor that you can let them know so they can provide suggestions or recommendations back to you to make your life better, not only today, but for the future.
Yeah. Yeah, that's huge. And Corey, before we end today's show, I know that this is what you help people do. You help them make sure they know what milestones are out there to hit before they retire, things they need to do. How can our listeners get that plan in place and work with you? I know you're offering a no-charge, no-obligation consultation, correct?
That's correct. For our listeners out there, just give us a call at 614-760-0670, or you can always visit our website at safeharboroh.com. But again, we're here to help and guide you to make sure you have the best retirement that you can. And the only way to be able to ensure that is to have a financial plan. We're here to help create one if you don't have one. If you do have one, we can provide that second opinion. Again, all of our meetings are complimentary, no financial obligation. So just give us a call here at 614-760-0670 or visit us online at safeharboroh.com.
All right, and that does it for today's episode of Financially Fit Radio.
Join us next week for another episode of Financially Fit Radio.
Thank you for listening to Financially Fit Radio. Don't pay too much for taxes or retire without a sound income plan. For more information, contact Corey Sickles at Safe Harbor Retirement Group. Call 614-760-0670 or visit their website at financiallyfitoh.com.
All matters discussed during the show are for informational purposes only. Each individual situation may vary, and the opinions expressed here may not apply to everyone. Materials presented are believed to be from reliable sources, and no representations can be made as to its accuracy. All ideas and information should be discussed in detail with one of our qualified representatives prior to implementation. We are not affiliated with or endorsed by the Social Security Administration, the Federal Medicare Program, or any other government agency emergency. Calling this number will direct you to a licensed sales agent.